Hello and welcome to Moviehouse Mystics, where the magic of movies come to life. I'm Kevin Gainey.
And I'm Cody Yule.
And before we begin, please don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, or wherever you get your fine podcast. Every engagement helps boost our visibility. This is made possible by viewers like you.
Really giving some PBS vibes there, but yeah, always good to give them a shout out.
Yeah, great minds think alike. By the way, please check out the new Ken Burns documentary about the American Revolution.
Let's not get distracted, Kevin. We have a podcast to do.
Yeah, fair point.
So the holidays are here, and I think before we get into our discussion about our movie today, it might be appropriate to share some of our favorite memories from Christmases past.
Absolutely. For me, I usually pivot to when I was 13 years old. This was 2004, the year that Halo 2 came out, and everybody I knew was asking for the original Xbox that year. Now, I'm well aware that Santa doesn't exist.
Well, let's not go there. There might be kids listening.
Wait, listening to this show? Oh, hell no. Our last episode was Saving Private Ryan.
You mean you wouldn't put that on in the playroom?
What is wrong with you?
Hey, I'm making sure the kids don't get duped by the podcast bros.
You know, sadly, I think I see some merit in that. And for the record, Winston Churchill was not the bad guy in World War II.
But back to your Xbox story.
Yeah, okay, so back to that. I am incredibly impulsive and didn't want to wait until the morning of December 25th to open the presents, so I snuck around looking for them.
Patience is a virtue that you clearly do not possess.
Yeah, that's true. But after snooping around, I did find the presents. They were in the basement, and much to my delight, the original Xbox is there. And on Christmas Eve, after my brothers Jack and Andrew have gone to bed, my parents say, hey, help us bring the presents out and put them under the tree. They're all wrapped, and I can see what's clearly the Xbox there. But I look at the tag on there. It doesn't say to the boys, to Kevin, Jack, and Andrew. It says to Andrew.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's safe to say I was pissed, but I couldn't express it because that would reveal that I had snuck around looking for the presents and betrayed my parents' sense of trust. So it's quite something to be mad, but to internalize it.
Just what happens when you don't wait till Christmas morning.
So how about you, Coda? Any festive memories to share?
So I mentioned last episode passing West Point on the train to New York City. Every year, my dad and I would take a trip down there and really experience the holiday vibes and decorations. And what was really cool is we would meet my grandma there. It's crazy to think now. She was in her 70s. We had a cell phone. She definitely didn't. We would say, meet us at this place at this time. And it worked out. There was no, let me pull up Apple Maps or Google. No, it was just like, hey, we'll be there. And we found her in the middle of New York City.
Sounds like the magic of Christmas was at play.
Some of that, and also not being overly reliant on technology. Regardless, it was always a ton of fun.
So it's my turn to provide the fun fact for this episode, and since Christmas time is here, we're probably going to read or hear someone say, bah humbug. We generally say it referring to Charles Dickens' iconic novel, A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, I guess so.
But have you ever wondered what humbug actually is?
Can't say that I have.
So let's take a trip back to Victorian England. A Christmas Carol is published in 1843. And for a long time, I thought that humbug was simply a popular candy in that era.
Was it not?
It was, but the word humbug predates the candy. It originated in the 18th century, and it meant tricks, hoaxes, practical jokes. And Dickens has Mr. Scrooge saying this to convey that he thinks the holiday spirit is BS.
You know, it actually makes sense, and it's fitting, because it's not him saying Christmas is just childish like candy.
And candy's not childish. I mean, we all have our secret stashes somewhere.
I don't think we buried the lead on this one. Pretty much anybody could tell that we're discussing a cinematic adaptation of A Christmas Carol.
But which one? There are hundreds of adaptations.
We're going to be bold here and say this is both of our favorite versions. The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yes. So the plot is simple enough. The Muppets present their version of Dickens' story of Scrooge's redemption on Christmas night.
This version was released December 11th, 1992. It was actually the first movie released after Muppets creator Jim Henson died from bacterial pneumonia.
My dad actually had the bout with that same pneumonia during my senior year of high school. He spent over a week in the hospital.
Yikes. At least he took the initiative to go to the hospital.
No, he was just like Jim. He didn't want to bother anybody, and thank God my mom was stubborn enough to get him checked out. We're very lucky.
Well, it's definitely something to be thankful for this time of year.
So Henson's son Brian was at the helm of this movie, and I think we can both agree that Jim would probably be proud of the final product.
Absolutely. So when did you first see this?
So I saw this on the last day of school before Christmas break in the 5th grade, so 2001. So in a strange way, it also is part of my post 9/11 nostalgia of my childhood, if you really think about that. My teacher, Mr. Cole, brought in the VHS, and originally I was a little annoyed because I was 10 years old thinking, oh, the Muppets are for toddlers. But as we're watching it, I'm suddenly remembering how brilliant they are and how charming they are. And immediately after that, our next door neighbors, the Nozels, they had their own VHS, and I went over to borrow that, and my brothers and I just rewatched the tape for months.
So I first remember seeing it as an older youngling, either 5th or 6th grade. And then in 7th grade, my English teacher, Mr. Reitmeyer, showed us his favorite version. Still, to this day, he says it is the George C. Scott version. And I was very confused because there was only one Marley. But still, I really appreciated the story. And I've worked it into Christmas specials I've done. And in terms of a story of the season as a whole, I'm a huge fan. What is your elevator pitch, Kevin?
I would say it's worthy of watching alongside any other iconic adaptation. I mean, on top of the fact it's one of the few musicals that I actually like. How about you? You got an elevator pitch?
Yeah, I think this version displays the story Dickens was trying to tell faithfully, but it breaks it up with moments of humor and makes an end product that pretty much anyone can enjoy.
You gotta wonder, what makes the Muppets so magical, especially after 70 years to endure like this? And I personally think it's because the characters are charming, the jokes are clever, and above all, everything is incredibly wholesome. What about you?
So for me, it's all about innovation. Innovation as puppets to be a cinematic medium, innovation with education, think Sesame Street, and just general innovation within the technology they're using, like blue screen, to really make the puppets feel like they're part of the real world. It's to the point where a kid doesn't even occur to them that they're puppets.
I mean, that's the magic of movies, but the sad thing is that when you specifically know how movies are made, the magic disappears.
You really don't experience magic at the movies anymore?
Well, not 100% of the time.
Because I was going to say, what are you doing on a podcast talking about movies then?
Yeah, fair point. So, did you pick out a tarot card for today?
I did, and we've actually seen this one before. Death. We saw it with Groundhog Day, and what I said there holds true here as well. It's not about somebody actually dying. Death is a representation of almost a new phase of life, new beginnings, somebody kind of getting a fresh start.
I mean, I can see that. It has the same redemptive arc of an incredibly cynical man.
Exactly.
And what's great about this version is that the Muppets play Dickens characters, and they've done this with other adaptations like Treasure Island, It's a Wonderful Life, and The Wizard of Oz.
In some ways, it's kind of like watching different movies with an actor like Jeff Goldblum or Christopher Walken. Their personality really comes through regardless of the specific role.
So leading off, we have Kermit the Frog playing the dutiful clerk, Bob Cratchit.
Could Kermit actually play a villain? He's too virtuous to be a bad guy.
Well, in Muppets Most Wanted, Kermit is framed by his doppelganger.
But even when he is the bad guy, he's not.
And playing Bob's wife, Emily, is the once-in-a-generation talent that changes the way we see entertainment, Miss Piggy.
She paid you to say that, didn't she?
Look, I put all my savings in Skype just before the pandemic. But do you know who she's voiced by?
Oh, yes. None other than Master Yoda himself, Frank Oz.
Listeners, Coda brought Yoda's lightsaber. He is wielding it right now. Let's not get carried away.
Quiet, Piggy.
Then there's also Fozzie Bear as old Fozziewig, Scrooge's first boss.
Yes, he manufactures rubber chickens in Victorian English. He knows how to have a good time.
He loves annual traditions so much he wants to do them twice a year.
And then we have our narrators. The great Gonzo is Charles Dickens himself and his best friend, Rizzo the Rat.
I love how they use these characters for this adaptation. Dave Goles, who is Gonzo's Muppeteer, said they wanted the Dickens narration to somehow be in the movie because it was so beautiful. They didn't want to use a voiceover because that was an intrusion. Suddenly it occurred to them that if Gonzo could play the part of Charles Dickens, he could be the Greek chorus in the movie as well.
It always comes back to Grecian storytelling.
We also have Dr. Bunsen Honeydew and his lab assistant Beaker as the charity solicitors who visit Scrooge on Christmas Eve.
And in this version, Jacob Marley, Scrooge's deceased business partner, is bifurcated into two brothers.
But bifurcated? But somebody's been playing Wordle.
Split in two. Sorry for using more than 3 syllables in a single word. But Jacob Marley and his brother Robert are played by our favorite hecklers, Statler and Waldorf.
Then we have Scrooge's headmaster, who is played by Sam the Eagle. The Electric Mayhem plays the band for Fozziewig's party, and Kermit's nephew Robin plays Tiny Tim.
And the last notable Muppet to point out is a lesser-known character, Bean. He plays the young lad who Scrooge asks, "What's today?" and responds, "Today's Christmas Day." He actually was a major character in Jim Henson's final project, Muppet Vision 3D. It was a short, immersive film that had been shown in Disney parks for about 30 years, and it recently closed to pretty much everyone's dismay.
But we can't forget the most important character, Mr. Ebenezer Scrooge.
Now, you need a pretty good actor to play that role. Who'd they end up getting again?
Michael Caine.
Huh?
Michael Caine. That's how you say his name with his Cockney accent. Michael Caine.
Blimey!
Caine's one of the best actors who's ever graced the screen, and he actually gave a pretty good performance for a family-friendly musical with Muppets.
He decided to take this much more seriously than maybe he should have. He said this about the role. "I am going to play this movie like I'm working with the Royal Shakespeare Company. I will never wink. I will never do anything Muppety. I am going to play Scrooge as if it is an utterly dramatic role and there are no puppets around me."
Do you know what his resume also includes? Jaws: The Revenge. And somebody once asked him if he ever saw that, and he said no, but he saw the house that bought his mom.
Well, with that kind of pay, who could complain? Now to Kevin's favorite topic, the musical numbers.
Look, it's the Muppets. There are only a few of their songs that I don't like.
Did you make a Spotify playlist for them?
You know, now that you mention that, I should get on it, especially now that it's Spotify Wrapped season.
Oh, yeah.
So what's your favorite song in this soundtrack?
My favorite is the opening number, Scrooge, where they're all singing about how horrible he is. There goes Mr. Humbug. There goes Mr. Grimm.
People have pointed out how Dickens could easily write a Christmas carol, but he could never write the lyrics, "No cheeses for us Mises."
No crust of bread for those in need.
No cheeses for us, Mises.
Poetry at its finest. What's your favorite song?
You can't go wrong with Marley and Marley. You actually have chains for this? Listeners, Coda also bought chains for this.
No, I happen to have a well-stocked props department. No purchase necessary.
Anyways, that brings me to a subject that I think needs to be addressed. I like how they found a way to include Statler and Waldorf in this version, but there's something unsettling about this. Both Marley brothers are dead.
Yeah, both brothers are dead. That happens.
No, the original story says that Marley died on Christmas Eve 7 years earlier. I think this implies that both Marley brothers died at the same time. So what could have killed the two brothers simultaneously?
I don't know, a hot air balloon accident? Plausible for that era, I guess. Would have been kind of ironic if that's how they ended up choosing to spend their money.
Yeah, but I think this isn't supposed to be like an accident. I think it's supposed to be supernatural.
Well, but would they have had to have died at the same time? Couldn't one brother have just died later and that's what kicked it all off?
No. I think it's got to be supernatural. It is a ghost story, after all. Also, I want to talk about Bob and Emily Cratchit's kids. Kermit is Bob, Piggy is Emily. Frog dad, pig mom. The boys are frogs, and the girls are pigs. Like, how does that work?
Here's a headline for, Kevin once again reads way too much into minor details. It's a kid's movie.
So is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but we can clearly tell that guy's killing kids.
Humbug. Yeah, see? Candy reference. It's come full circle.
Ah, I see what you did there.
This movie came out more than 30 years ago, and we're still watching it every year. Why do you think it holds up so well?
It's the Muppets.
Yeah, but there's plenty of Muppet bits that nobody talks about. Muppets from Space gave us Gonzo's origin story that he's an alien, and almost nobody knows this. I think the fact that it's the Muppets plus probably the greatest Christmas story ever written.
Yeah, but they could still have found a way to bomb this, even if they're adapting a classic. I think it's because it gets right to the catharsis that Dickens wanted us to experience, but doing it in a family-friendly manner.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think your average family audience would really appreciate full-on Dickens, especially with all the spooky elements.
That's true. The Ghost of Christmas Present in this version has a jolly Santa-like vibe. If you read the book or watch any other adaptation, he's actually quite scary with his prophecies of doom.
Yeah, that's one part I'm thankful that was cut out for the families. Ghost of Christmas Present revealing the shriveled children beneath his robes, ignorance and want.
Yeah, and in the book and all the other adaptations, it's at that moment when Scrooge runs away from the spirit and comes across the Ghost of Christmas Future. In this version, he's pleading for Christmas Present not to leave him.
Yeah, and they do manage to pull off a bit of a spooky ghost with the Ghost of Christmas Future. I was totally spooked when I first saw this.
I think what drives it home is how Gonzo and Rizzo, the Greek chorus, leave the narrative. They say, we'll join you at the finale. It's much more somber without the jokes on the side.
Yeah, also Rizzo spilling jelly beans down a monument and Gonzo running around like a madman. It would have been pretty out of place.
And we mentioned before, there are plenty of other adaptations, and we might as well discuss a few of them.
Yeah, to start off, there's one that both Kevin and I have seen, and that's the 1984 version with George C. Scott. As I mentioned earlier, I saw it in Mr. Reitmeyer's class, and Kevin found it on YouTube after discovering it on IMDb.
Yeah, you shouldn't be shocked by that one.
We both agreed that this is probably the spookiest adaptation.
Oh, no doubt.
I think another version worth mentioning is the Jim Carrey animated.
And that was also directed by Robert Zemeckis, correct?
Yeah, he loves his mocap. He also made The Polar Express just like 5 years before this.
Wow, 2 animated Christmas movies in 5 years. Oh, and he also made Beowulf, another mocap movie in that range.
Well, motion capture allows them to work a lot more efficiently.
Well, why is that?
Well, technology-wise, basically, you have a room with a bunch of cameras kind of like this. You then have your actors that you put a bunch of little markers on, and then you could see how the marker lights up like a Christmas light, fitting for the season. Anyway, it allows you basically to have good actors that could deliver their lines and not take too many takes, and all your animation work is pretty much done. You're not screwing around with sets and wardrobe and makeup. All that can be done after the fact, after you get into the 3D software, basically, and it's a good way to streamline things. But I think what's worth pointing out is that you ended up with some products that were really at the peak of the uncanny valley.
Yeah, if anybody wants to hear a good description of the uncanny valley, you should watch the episode of 30 Rock Succession, in which the character Frank explains uncanny valley with Star Wars characters. But there's another Disney adaptation, Mickey's Christmas Carol. This one is only 26 minutes long, and it was originally released alongside reissues of The Rescuers in the United States and The Jungle Book in the UK, and it's been broadcast annually ever since on NBC, CBS, ABC, Disney Channel, and ABC Family.
And it introduced us to Scrooge McDuck, which led to DuckTales.
And it's not just television and movies where you get these adaptations. It's also been done on the stage, probably since it was first published. I will never forget going to see a stage adaptation, Christmas 2003, in the 7th grade. We went to Providence, Rhode Island, and it was in a theater in the round performance through the Trinity Repertory Company. And I actually found information about that performance where Scrooge was played by none other than the actress Anne Scuria.
That's the beauty of theater. You can have much more freedom to mix things up.
Looking into this, we were actually surprised that there were mixed reactions to this movie.
Which is crazy because we always view this with nostalgia goggles.
Rotten Tomatoes has given it a 77% fresh rating based on 56 reviews. Quote, "It may not be the finest version of Charles Dickens' tale to grace the screen, but The Muppet Christmas Carol is funny and heartwarming and serves as a good introduction to the story for young viewers."
I think that's fair. That's exactly how we fell in love with it.
So the New York Times had a little snippet that said, "It's a lively kiddie version of the Dickens tale, one that young viewers ought to understand."
And in New York Daily News, they said it's a measure of Michael Caine's talent as an actor that he's able to give a straight-faced, remarkably convincing performance as the notorious tightwad Ebenezer Scrooge while surrounded by pint-sized veteran scene stealers.
Roger Ebert gave this 3 stars out of 4, while his co-host, Gene Siskel, actually gave it a thumbs down when they both reviewed it.
Yeah. Reviews aside, I think we should get back to the music.
And as often happens, some creative decisions ultimately come down from the suits amid disagreements.
Yeah, one of these suits was an executive named Jeffrey Katzenberg, the chairman of Disney Studios.
Doesn't chairman sound like a Muppet side character?
Does, but I mean, I think we're talking about the executive chairman, not a literal chairman.
So are you saying that you don't think chairs possess the skills needed to be administrators?
Well, hold on a minute. I'll have you know that I have quite the accomplished resume. It took me years to pay off my loans to Harvard Business School, but I wouldn't let anything get in my way. I'm able to send my children to some of the best private schools in the area. You should see the Louis Vuitton armrest I got my wife for our anniversary. How dare you assume that furniture are incapable of doing the same tasks as humans? I say good day!
I can't believe you actually built that puppet.
That's your voice. You agreed to this. Don't try to act like you're above puppetry.
Yeah, but you seem to prioritize manufacturing the marionette over writing our episode.
But puppets are fun. I could not, in good conscience, do an episode about the Muppets without including some sort of actual puppet. I think Jim Henson would have been pretty proud.
Yeah, he probably would. But getting back to Katzenberg's intervention, he made the decision to cut the song by Scrooge's fiancée, Belle, When Love Is Gone. He thought it would throw the audience off.
Look, as somebody who has a short attention span, I start losing focus during that number.
Look, you're not alone. That's the same with me. But director Brian Henson insisted it be included during the first home video releases, but it has since been removed again.
I think it's a decent song and scene, but again, for me, it's my own attention span that limits things.
But the other thing, too, is the finale includes the song When Love Is Found as the complement. I mean, it helps give the full intended context. I just wish it was a better song to include in the original cut. I personally didn't care for it either. Like I said, this is one of the few Muppet songs that I dislike.
And do you know what Katzenberg went on to do after his Disney tenure?
No, what?
He founded DreamWorks Animation.
Wow.
And you could see some of his disdain for Disney in the first Shrek movie, which ironically has some great music.
Welcome to Duloc, such a perfect
Kevin,
town.
stop
Here
it. Stop. No, we're not going there.
So you might beg to differ, but I don't think of this as much as a cinematographically complex film. That's just my take.
Complex, no. But I think there's something to talk about. In the Scrooge song, it definitely looks like they're utilizing a bleach bypass effect, which we discussed in our Saving Private Ryan episode. And then also, they used a ton of Dutch angles, where basically the camera is at an angle to the horizon, and it creates a lot of diagonal motion. Another thing, what did you think of the ending? I got some real Kubo of the Two Strings vibes.
You mean the ending of the story in general, published over 180 years ago?
Yeah, but they seem to embrace his change of heart incredibly quickly. Like decades of his apathy gone in less than 45 seconds.
Well, you can't drag it on too much.
Yeah, and I'm glad they didn't.
So, do you think that's everything?
Yeah, I think we covered everything we wanted to say about this movie.
Yeah, but is that everything?
Oh, yes, you mean in general. No, it's not. That's The Last of Us for Moviehouse Mystics this year. We wanted to wish you a very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Festivus, Yuletide, Winter Solstice, etc., etc. New Year's. We'll see you in 2026.
I'm Kevin Gainey.
And I'm Cody Yule. Tune in next year for Moviehouse Mystics Season 4.
Godspeed, everybody.
Moviehouse Mystics, hosted by Kevin Gainey and me, Cody Yule. Theme music by TheFatRat. Tune in next year for Season 4 of Moviehouse Mystics.